The wings are going to go really quickly. They're very simple. So what we have to do is we have to glue the aileron hinges. There's only a couple of things we need to look at here. We need to make sure that there's a gap here on the inboard end of the aileron. This is not rubbing. We need to make sure this is relatively smooth here on the outside of the aileron, that we have this lined up. And we know we have the aileron in the right position. We need to push the aileron in just like we did the other surfaces, and we need to flex it up and down. This gives us a little bit of a gap between a 1/16 and a 32nd of an inch. That's perfect. So now we'll put thin CA glue on our aileron hinges. 2 drops of glue per hinge. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2 and 2. Okay, now we'll let that dry. As before, if we get any excess CA glue running around, any streaking, any misting, we can wipe it off later, even much later, with a towel soaked in our CA debonder. Okay, we're going to prepare the wing. We need to remove a little bit of covering. We're going to start by removing the covering over the servo opening. Okay. Alright, and if you notice, there's a pull string installed in the wing. It's a black thread with a little wooden handle here on the end. If you need assistance pulling your servo lead through the wing, this is what we've installed for you to do that. It's got a little wooden handle on each end, and you can tie this to your servo lead and pull it through, and we'll show you that. We also need to remove the covering over the control horn slot, just like we did on the tail surfaces. Okay. Alright, servo bay is open, control horn slot is open. First we're going to install the control horn. Left at this point are the ones with the long base, which go into the wing. We're going to start by trowel fitting it. Make sure that it pushes into the wing with no problem. Okay. If we need to do a little modification or clean the slot out, now's the time to find out before there's a glue all over everything. So it's always good to test fit it. Alright, so we're good. So now we're going to add our glue. Again, we're going to use some medium CA. You can also use thick for this step, or if you wanted to, you could use epoxy glue if that's what you had, but I prefer medium CA. Put plenty of medium CA in and around the slot. And we're going to install the horn. Okay, and we'll let that dry. Okay, as before, since we're using the HS45 HB servos, these are the longer case servos, we're going to need to trim the front edge of the servo opening a little bit so the servo will fit. So I'll do that now. Okay. Okay, so we're going to install our high-tech servo into the wing now, and we're going to use the pull string in the wing to pull the servo lead through. Now, make note of something, which is this is the HS45 HB servo. The servo lead is more than long enough to extend fully out of the wing into the fuselage and plug into your receiver. If instead you were using the HS65 servo, I'll show you this. The HS65 lead is barely long enough to get out of the wing. You will need an extension so that this lead will reach your receiver, which is in the fuselage. So make note, typically a 3 to 4 inch extension is needed for this to reach your receiver. But again, with the HS45, No need, plenty long. So now we're going to take a pair of pliers and we're going to grab the little wooden handle which is inside the wing. We're going to break it loose. It's got a little drop of glue on it. Okay. Now we have our pull string and our little wooden handle. We're going to crack the little wooden handle in half so we can release the string. Okay. And we're just going to use the string like a little lasso over our servo connector. We're going to go to the root rib of the wing. There's the other little handle. We're going to break that loose. Okay, I'll zoom out a little bit. And we're going to use our string to pull our servo lead through the wing. Okay, and we're going to install the servo into the slot with the servo head facing the back, facing the aileron. And then we can undo the little thread lasso from the servo connector, and then you can just discard your string. Okay, so now we have the servo in the slot. We're going to use the servo screws that came with the servo in the package, and we're going to screw it down to the wing. Now, all you should have left are the two aileron push rods. Okay, so install the aileron push rod as so. And we're going to prepare our aileron servo arms with our servo connectors exactly the same way as we did for the tail surfaces. Again, the servo connector should be able to rotate on the servo arm. Okay, but the nut is locked in place with little CA glue on the end so it can't fall out in flight. Install this onto the push rod. Okay. And we'll install the servo screw. Okay. This is how your aileron servo installation should look. Now, notice that the push rod is more than long enough. What I'll do is I'll take a wire cutters and I'll trim off most of this length. I'll leave about 3/8 of an inch here for adjustment purposes. Okay, so we have our wire cutters and we're going to trim the aileron push rod wire. A note about using cutters like these. This type of cutter, if you don't restrain the wire that you're cutting, when you clip through it, it can take off and fly around the room. So when you're using cutters like these, it's a good idea to wear safety glasses. It's also a good idea to try to restrain the piece that you're cutting. Okay, so it doesn't fly around the room. Little pieces of wire flying around the room are a safety hazard. Okay, so there's our completed aileron, servo, and push rod installation.